wanted to make a short video on the topic of giving money to homeless people, or at least people who stand around asking for money, because it is something where my way of thinking on the subject has evolved. I grew up in pretty conservative churches, and my family is fairly right-wing leaning. So what I always heard was, don't just hand out cash to people on the street, donate to causes that will help those people, because you don't know if you're actually helping them or if you're enabling whatever problem that they have that leads to them being on the streets in the first place. Or even they may have a home to go to, but why should they get a job where they have to show up at a certain time and work under a boss when they could make a similar amount of money tax-free just by asking people, which shows how crappy our minimum wage is. But that is another argument that I heard tossed around. But I think the problem with the argument, don't give to the people directly, give to the services that help those people and are experts in that field, is that I can only speak for myself, but I was not doing that. Definitely not with any regularity. Now that I think back to my time in the church, I was also not tithing, not giving 10%, but I was donating a certain amount of money to whatever church I was attending at the time. Like, I would bring $5 or $10 or $20 each week and just put that in the collection plate so they could use it for doing upkeep stuff for the church. And I sort of did feel like, yeah, like I'm just doing my charity here. I'm giving my money away. I'm not using it for me. I'm giving it to someone else. And maybe that is another reason why it can be easy to convince people in churches not to do certain types of charity, because they kind of feel like they're already doing something as long as they're tithing or giving to the church. So I think that it is often floated as an alternative, but a lot of people can be very tempted to use that as an excuse to just do nothing. Because it is more complicated to research these services, and then how are you going to tell like that one dude over there like how to get in contact with those services and stuff like that. It is a little bit more effort, and I think it's easier to say, oh, I should support these people, and then never actually do it, sadly. And also, as I've gotten older, I realized that the reasons why people might end up in that situation can be pretty complicated, and it can represent a wide variety of people, and even people who never thought they would be in that situation. So it's definitely not limited to people who could get help somewhere else, like help for a mental disorder or help for addiction, and are choosing not to do that because they would rather not have this highly regulated life, and they would rather be able to be their own boss and just go where they please and not have to answer to a certain program or system. However, even after I got to the point of, yeah, it probably is just a good thing to occasionally give a little bit of money to people on the street, I still found it really hard to do. And that is because it's pretty hard for me to go up to strangers at the best of times. And I think for me, that was the real reason why I hung back from ever engaging with these people, because I don't know, they just looked kind of strange and different, and I didn't know what they would do or how they would react if I got close to them. And there was this whole level of scariness and uncertainty that made it easier for me to just, walk by and do my business like everyone else seemed to be doing. A turning point for me was when I was running an errand at Target, and I guess our Target where I live is kind of a hot spot for people to occasionally stand with cardboard signs asking for any money that could help them. And I saw this family of a mom and a couple small kids, and they had one of those signs. And I kind of had this back and forth mental debate with myself. I don't know if you could call it a form of prayer, but that's kind of how it felt to me, where like the still small voice said to me, "Oh, look, you're considering giving $1 to some person who needs money. Look at those people. They're not scary. That's like the perfect candidate. Like, this is like a slam dunk, easy starter gig." And I was like, "But I don't have any small denominations of bills in my purse, and blah 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 blah, and like I don't like know what I'll give them, and I don't want to give them like a huge amount because I don't have like that much money that I can just throw around, blah blah." And the voice in my head was like, "You're walking into a Target. Not only can you get cash back, you can get change. You can get whatever denomination of bills you want." And so I did that, and of course what I bought did not work out perfectly to give me a lot of small donations, a lot of small denominations. So I ended up with the smallest thing being a 5, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll just give them the 5. And then as I was going out, I walked up and I was like, here, here you go. And they just said thank you, and that was it. It was like the smallest deal possible. So since then, I try to keep some small bills in my wallet, and if I see a person and it's a situation where I can stop and I feel kind of safe doing that, I usually try to do that and just give them something. And usually people are just very matter of fact and polite. They usually just say thanks, and sometimes thanks, God bless, and I tell them to have a nice day, and that's all. I've only had one negative interaction, and that was partly my fault because I walked straight past this guy playing Pokemon Go, and it looked like I completely ignored him. But I did turn around and went back and gave him some dollars, and then he said, "Oh, are you just giving me the money to make me shut up?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. Like, don't overthink it, dude. It's free money." But you know, even though that one particular guy was a little bit salty, that may have no bearing whatsoever on how much he needed the money. He might have been a salty guy and also really needed those dollars that I gave him. And even that wasn't too bad. It was just kind of a weird experience. I am pretty lucky to live in an area where I mostly feel very safe going up to strangers who are asking for money. It would be different if I were living in an area where I could be hurt by a stranger in the city or in my town. Luckily, that's not the case. Places are usually pretty well trafficked and well lit, so if people are able to stand there and ask for money, they're usually like very chill about it, and they're not very likely to like get angry or like hurt anyone or anything like that. I think if it were different, then I would put my efforts more towards making a monthly contribution, even if it's a small one, to a organization that's more experienced in helping people who are in a desperate situation. I'm definitely not going to give anyone advice to approach a person or enter into a situation where they personally do not feel safe. Like, I think charity is good, but your safety should come first. And there are plenty of ways that you can help other people. It just kind of takes whatever you choose to do, like actually get out there and do it. Or do it from your laptop at home. You can make donations online very easily. You don't even have to get out there. I mean, get out there spiritually, but physically as far as you are able. There's even a person that I kind of got a cordial relationship with because I kept seeing her in the same spot as I went to Safeway each week to get sushi on Fridays. And so she would recognize me or she'd recognize my car and like she'd see me coming and be like, oh, hi, how are you? And I even got to learn a little bit about the situation she was in. Yeah, basically lost housing during COVID and living in her van. And she had a disabled partner as well. And, you know, like this is still basically a stranger, so obviously like I don't know all the details, but again, it was just a nice person and I wasn't helping that much, but she did appreciate the little bit of help I was giving, and also just the interaction of saying hi to someone and in the position where she probably was ignored by 90% of the people going by. I definitely don't feel like I can tell another person how much time and money and effort to devote to charity. I definitely wouldn't name a percent amount or a dollar amount that you have to give to be a good person. That's like, that is way beyond my pay grade to answer. But what I found with myself is that when I challenge myself bit by bit to step out of my comfort zone, and when I have the mindset of, I buy so many useless things just for myself. I spend it on booze, I've spent it on other substances, I've spent it on fast fashion, I've spent it on fast food, all this crappy stuff that I don't really need, and I would probably judge a homeless person for buying. I might as well give $1 to that lady over there with a cardboard sign. I do things that are just a little bit uncomfortable. Just be like, you know, I'm kind of in a hurry. I could just walk by. I'm gonna have to like walk backwards and like go back, and that person's definitely gonna remember me. It's gonna be super awkward. And I'm like, you know what? I feel the call. I'm just gonna sit back, hand over $1, and that'll be it. I challenge myself bit by bit to listen to that voice that is prompting me to be a little bit more generous, to use a little bit of the resources that I'm very fortunate to have to do something that could help another person. I definitely don't feel like I'm pinched financially at the end of the month. I definitely don't feel like, oh man, I could have bought something nice for myself if I hadn't like donated to this cause or given away some of my extra cash to that person. I usually just remember the times where I felt like someone got something that could help them or something that was needed, or I got to donate to a cause that I value, and it makes me feel happy. Whatever downside I was afraid of is not a real thing. It doesn't really exist. It was just the fear in my mind that was keeping me from getting outside myself and thinking of other people. So I'm not sure if I could tell someone to like give until it hurts or give until you feel a pinch, because I think the people who give regularly just don't feel that. They probably feel really good. So anyway, those were my thoughts, and that was my journey to rethinking part of my moral philosophy. And I don't know, it's interesting how you can think about things so differently as you age, and I think it's good to reevaluate. Hopefully this was interesting to the people watching, and maybe it'll encourage you to think of other ways that you can use your resources to help the people around you, because, you know, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to be able to do that. Thanks for watching!